Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a Rainy Toon Talk. And joining us tonight for looking back with is Stephen Turnbull. Stephen, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Like we see, we've got a bit of a low battery at the minute, so it's all about thumbs up when we're getting towards the end of it.
I'm at 29%, so we'll see how we do.
Out and enjoying your night, why not? But yeah, starting with the early days, Stephen, and obviously captain the Hartlepool youth side and coming through the ranks there. I mean, what was it like playing at Hartlepool at that time?
It was great. I've only got good things to say about Hartlepool. I had a great youth team manager, Paul Stevenson, who used to play for Newcastle, Millwall, stuff like that. I originally got my contract under Martin Scott, who played for Sunderland. Yeah. He was a great bloke, and I've only really got good things to say. I came into a youth team with good lads. There were older lads. I was only 16 at the time, obviously coming from school, and there was the likes of John Brackstone, who played for Hartlepool, Darren Craddock, and you went into the dressing room and it went from boys football straight away. You felt like I'm in men's football here, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I was at Hartlepool for 6 years. I was there for under 16s. I done a 3-year YTS and I done a 2-year pro, and I loved every minute of it. Every minute of it. The last 2 years was difficult. The last 2 years, obviously, when I was professional, it was under Danny Wilson, and I couldn't break into the first team, but I still loved it. It was great going into Durham every day, playing with like great senior pros. It was looking back now. I just wish I had been a bit more professional myself.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned some of the pros there, like the likes of Barron, Tinkler, Nelson, Humphreys. I know a few quite well, and Mickey Barron and stuff like that. And it must have been good having them type of leaders and people encourage you to push you on. But I would imagine they would get you to one side if needed as well to have a little word sometimes.
When you're a young lad, you don't appreciate the older pros. You know, people like Richie Humphreys, who would have end of season dues to Magaluf, and you don't understand how important them kind of things are. And Richie would organise that. He would organise the PFA awards, would all go down there, and Mickey Barron was like the most professional at the time. I remember playing the reserve game at Grimsby with 3-0 up with about 3 minutes to go, and he's shouting and screaming at everyone. And because I was 17, I'm thinking, what's he going on about? We've won this game 3-0. But it's not until you're older that you appreciate how important people like him are. Where I think Mickey will tell you himself, he wasn't the most technically gifted player, but he was so important to the dressing room, and he set standards. And people like Mark Tinkler, who was just like a pure legend of a bloke. You know, you went on your end of season do. Not only was he great football wise, but you went on your end of season do, and he was the main man drinking. If you ever got him he was the first one to stick up for you. I remember we went to Magaluf and a couple of the young lads set their mouth away about a couple of the Darlington players actually, and the Darlington players wanted to leather. These were blokes and we were young kids, and Tinks was the first one to step in and say, if you mess about with them, you're messing about with all of us.
Class.
I couldn't speak highly enough of them blokes. They were great.
No, especially like you say, Mickey Brown. I've played a couple of times and Mickey little charity events, and it doesn't matter. Every time I play with him, played a fans game with him, I scored. I think he set a hat-trick for us. We played at the Stadium Light in a charity game. I scored 5. So every time on the pitch, he's a hero, Mike. So every time he sets us up, so he's a good lad to me.
I love Mickey. Like I say, I didn't appreciate him when I was younger. I didn't understand how important he was. And like I say, we played against Grimsby. We're 3-0 up 5 minutes ago. He's shouting, "Get back in here! Do this, do that!" And I'm like, "Mickey, what are you going on about? We're winning 3-0, and but his standards were that high." And not only was he a good bloke on the pitch, but he was a great bloke off it as well. And like I say, I could only speak highly enough of Mickey.
No, brilliant. I mean, he had a couple of loan spells as well, and I think as a youth player coming through the ranks, it's always good to go out and get that first team experience. And as you say, playing that men's football. I mean, what was your loan moves like? Did you enjoy that time?
I did. I enjoyed going out on loan and getting men's football. But when I was at Bury, we played against Chester in the FA Cup, and it was like Roberto Martinez was playing for Chester, and we beat them 3-1. So I'm absolutely buzzing. We drew Ipswich in the next round of the cup and at Portman Road, so I'm thinking great. I've done well in the I think it was the second round, maybe it's the third round. I thought great, I've done well. We've won 3-1. I played Portman Road, Anyways, I'm lying in bed in hotel. Wakes up, gets a phone call off my mate who's in the middle of the Atlantic. He was at sea. He says, "Oh, Steve, you see what's happened?" I'm like, No. He says, "Oh, I'm BBC News 24, and Bury you being kicked out the FA Cup." I'm like, "Are you minding?" And I'd signed for Bury on loan, and the secretaries have mixed up the paperwork. Anyways, I wasn't eligible to play in this game.
Oh, no way.
So Bury ended up getting kicked out the FA Cup, and so it didn't go great from there. Don't get us wrong, I enjoyed going, I enjoyed the experience of being at Bury, but after we got kicked out of the FA Cup, you know what fans are like, all the season.
Yeah.
Stephen Turnbull should have played, and he shouldn't have played, and he did play, so it was my fault. And so we got kicked out of the FA Cup, first team to ever get kicked out of the FA Cup, and yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare. But then I went to Rochdale, I enjoyed that experience, but at the time I was too young. You know, they say put the wise head on young shoulders.
Yeah.
I was too young. I was too naive. I didn't appreciate the opportunity I had at the time, and I didn't grasp it with both hands, which I should have done. Looking back now, I was very naive.
Yeah, but I mean, your time at Hartlepool, you did play like over 20 games for the club, and like you say, part of the promotions and stuff like that. I mean, when it came to the time of leaving in 2008, I mean, what was that feeling like? Was it kind of a gut-wrenching time to leave the club?
It wasn't. Do you know, when I was at Hartlepool and I was in the first year YT, second year YT, I thoroughly believed like I deserved to be there. And then I was unfortunate in a way, like football, anyone who's played at a decent standard of football tell you like it's a lot about luck at the same time as how much effort you put in. And the season where I made my first team debut, we played against Tranmere. I had a couple of great games against Tranmere, and Brian Little was manager. I played against MK Dons, and Danny Wilson was manager, and I got took off the first game at at Hartlepool. I got took off at half time because I was playing horrendous. Then the second game against MK Dons at MK Dons, I got took off at half time because I pulled my hamstring. So then in the summer, the manager got let go, and it was between two managers, Brian Little, who'd been manager at Tranmere, where I'd played really well, and Danny Wilson, where I'd had two nightmares.
Yeah.
And in the end, Danny Wilson got the job, and straight away, mentally, I was thinking, he's going to see me being dragged off twice at halftime. He's going to think no good. And Danny Wilson come in, and I liked him as a man. He was a nice man, but personally, and a lot of the lads will have liked them because we're doing well under him. But personally, I didn't take to him, and that's just opinions in football.
Yeah, of course.
He would probably say I was horrendous as a footballer, but I didn't personally have him as a manager because it didn't work out for me. And that's obviously selfishly of me because I was all about me. But he done well for Hartlepool, but he didn't do well for me personally. So it didn't work out. And the last 2 years was a nightmare.
Yeah. I'd say, I mean, like you say, in 2008, you joined Gateshead and playing with your brother. I mean, as the family as well, that must have been a proud moment playing the same team.
It was proud, but Gateshead didn't work out for me. I played with the manager was Ian Bogie, and Ian Bogie was a good manager. But my first year out of football, I was 20, 21, and I was, like I say again, I was very naive. I was out because I was out of full-time football. I was out with my mates having a drink on a Monday night. I was out with my mates on a Thursday night having a drink. I was out with my mates on a Saturday night having a drink, and I was horrendous, to be honest with you. It's probably the worst year I've had in football. So at the end of the season, Bogie released us, and he had every right to do that. I was nowhere near. So it was great playing with my brother, like in men's football, but at the same time, it was probably the worst year I've had in football. Yeah,
I mean, like you say, after that spell, I think it's a bit of a learning curve because you go through that time of Gateshead, then you go into a club like Blyth, and you have the two kind of seasons there. But did you enjoy your first spell at Blyth?
I loved it. You know what it is? I almost had a word with myself. I was like, listen, you kind of carry on like this. You kind of be, if you want to do anything in football, because at the time I was only 22, and I still had dreams of like playing professional again. So I was like, you kind of be doing this, drinking on a Monday, drinking on a Thursday, and I remember we played on a Tuesday night. I think we played against a team from Liverpool, and I remember I got bullied all the game. I remember feeling like a boy in men's football, and I woke up the next day and I was like, right, that's it. I'm getting in the gym. I'm going to take it serious. And from that day, I was in the gym every day, and I bulked up, and I pretty much turned into a man in the next 2-3 months, and I loved every minute of Blythe. It was just, I've said this many times before, it was just one of them clubs where you'll go a certain place and everything fitted. I was playing with good lads. I was playing with Mick Tate, who was manager, who was a great bloke. He didn't overcomplicate things or anything like that. And I just really enjoyed me football, and we're done all right. We had Paul Brayson up top, who was banging goals.
Yeah, scores fun, doesn't he?
We had Robbie Dale, we had Mick Tate's son, Mickey Tate, Neil Hooks, like good, honest footballers, good lads, and we're done all right. I think we finished 11th and 9th, which was all right in that league, considering our budget would have probably been at the very bottom of the league, and I loved every minute of it. The first season I'd done all right, and then the second season I'd done really well. I went out left midfielder. I think I scored 14 goals. I got player of the year, and I loved every minute of it. Like,
no, really good. Like I say, especially that's them 2 seasons. Well, you played St James's Park. I know you get a bit off Newcastle reserves and off from the cup, but I mean that must have been special to play at St James's Park and in the final as well.
It was. I'm a Newcastle fan, so obviously it's always nice.
Yeah.
I mean, we got battered. We got well beaten that day. I think Sammy Amiobi was playing. I had a few. James Taverner was playing, and they had a good. But it was lovely. It was nice to get to the final, and in comparing men's football now, you know, you very back then you played against teams like Newcastle. You were getting whopped. Like we got whopped then, but. This day, you play against Newcastle. This is no disrespect to the young lads in Newcastle, but you go into games and you think we could win this one. Back then, it was a total different level altogether. Like I say, we got the final and we got well beaten. And Newcastle were very good at the time. I think we'd had 2 weeks off since the season had ended. And
right,
end the season do at Vegas about 3 days later. So maybe our minds meant to be elsewhere, but. We were well beaten on the day, but as a Newcastle fan, it was great to go to St James's and play there.
No, especially. I mean, we come back to Blythe later as well. I mean, when we've been putting the kind of adverts out about the show and stuff, a lot of Blythe fans have kind of shown the support for you as well, which must be really nice to see that on like social media as well. So we'll come back to that as well. But after that, you moved to Harrogate in 2011. Did you enjoy your football there before moving to Australia?
I didn't. This is nothing against Harrogate, but I didn't enjoy it. I left Blythe for the wrong reasons. They doubled the money I was on, and what originally happened was I went to meet the new. I love Mick Tate. I absolutely loved him. He was great. He was a top bloke. He was like a man's man. And the new manager came in, and when I went to meet him, I'd won Player of the Season, and I just felt like he hadn't shown us the respect I thought I deserved at the time. And when I met him, he was like, "Oh, I should be able to get you the money that you're already on," and it just didn't, like, the manager just didn't give us what I was wanting. And then Harrogate come in, like I said, they doubled me money, and when you're 22, but I went to Harrogate and it just didn't work out well. You know, some places you go, it works out well. I went there.
You get a feeling, don't you? Yeah.
After the first training session, I rang Brassy, who was there. I says, "Brassy, we've made a big mistake here," and it turned out to be that way. It got to the January time. And don't get us wrong, the manager, he was a top bloke. He's still a manager there now. He was sound. But I just think the players he signed were almost like mercenaries, were just there for money, and it didn't work out.
No. Like you say, you spell there in Australia as well. You come back to Blythe in 2013 under Tom Wade. I know we had Tom on a couple of weeks ago, and he couldn't really speak highly of you as a footballer. He said you got everything to go at that professional level. That must be nice hearing from a former manager.
It was. Me and Tom we got on great. Tom was great for me, and I'd like to think I was good for Tom. Tom was just simple. He just done it as, you know, as a player. You hope your manager will just keep it simple, and he picked the team that you think should have been picked. And like I say, Tom was great. He had a lot of success at Blythe, and to be honest, listen, I'm not a chairman of a football club or nothing like that, but I'm surprised Tom hasn't been back to Blythe, because he worked wonders with players who, well, for me, he signed me when there was no real reason why he should have signed me. I'd been away at sea for a year. He signed me, believed in me, he came in, and he was just one of them blokes where, like, even in games where we got beat, you would feel great after you spoke to him. He was one of them where I think he's massively underappreciated. Me, Tommy, he had a lot of success at Blythe, and considering the budget we had, like he was punching massively above his weight, and like I say, I really enjoyed working under Tom.
It was quite funny actually. So when we had him on, there were kind of that spell when they didn't have the manager, and we were trying to push him to say, "Are you going back to Blythe?" And he knew that Fenton was coming in a few days afterwards, and he says, "Well, if things may work out this way, if my wife says yes," but he deep down he knew he wasn't going back. But it was nice just to talk about that time, and possible going back to Blythe. And yourself as well, obviously you leave Blythe, go to Shildon, but come quite soon back to Blythe for the third spell. And this kind of being probably one of the best spells at Blythe, kind of watching on from the non-league as well, and kind of doing well. You get the FA Cup run, and you've got to come that night at Hartlepool. Obviously playing against Hartlepool, where you've come through the youth system, you've played so many years there. Once the draw on Hartlepool away, what was that feeling like? Were you ready to get built up for that game?
You know what it is? I didn't really have any feelings towards it. Like I was just more concentrated on Blythe and us doing well. When we went into this game and the cup was drawn, Hartlepool was struggling and we were flying. We were winning every week. We had Robbie Dale in the team, who was a freak of nature. Really, he was just so good, and we were winning every week. And anyone who knows football, it doesn't matter what level you're at, if you're winning every week and then that team's losing every week, whatever levels it is, you're going into the game full of confidence. They're going into the game struggling, you know what I mean? And I went into the game, and it sounds stupid. No matter what game I went into, if Robbie Dale was in my team, I felt like we were going to win this game. So anyways, we went into the Hartlepool game, and Shearad gave a team talk, and Tommy gave a team talk, and I'd said a little thing, and I just said to the lads, listen, the longer we stay in this game, the more chance we have of winning it. And we got absolutely battered first half. And I mean, Hartlepool should have been 2-3-0 up first half, but we hung in. We went in 1-0 down, and then I got a free kick, banged it straight in the top corner.
Top bins.
30 yards out, 2.5 million watching our match of the day. It was unbelievable. But I don't want to talk about that too much. But we scored there, and then I always felt like we'd win. And then Jared popped up in the last minute, and we won it 2-1. And it was, what a night that was. Me twin often speak about football, because you know, football it's great, but there's a lot of tough times. You know, going traveling away on a Tuesday night. But I always say to my twin, like, all the training I've ever done all my life, like even from 7-year-old going in Sunderland Academy and that, it was all worth it for that. For that 1 second when that free kick hit the back of the net. Everything I've ever done, the running, the travelling, the signing for teams I didn't want to sign for, being on the bench for teams, falling out with managers, every minute of my career was all worth it for that one free kick, like in winning that game.
No, I was telling Tom like a funny story, because I actually went out, I had a night because of that. I was literally down to my last £20 or £25. I put it all on Blythe to win, because I really fancied this, because it's not just Hartlepool playing that night, but you literally went through 6 or 7 qualifiers, replays, just to get to that point. So I thought, you know, it is, you're on a good run. You know, it's that's what it's like. And I remember you scored that goal, and I kind of went, this might happen, this. And then I remember I was on the phone with my mate. It was like 89th minute. I says, I'm not coming out tonight, mate. And then Jarrett Riddles in, that was like, I'm coming out. It was class.
I remember Nipper, one of the lads, his mates were all in the crowd, and when we scored the 90th minute winner, everyone jumped on the pitch. It was police on, and his pals were jumping on top of the coppers. And I've got a photo of me giving the copper a piggyback, and all of his mates ended up getting locked up. And it was a great night. I'm on 8% here. I'm really sorry.
8%. No problem. No, well, what we'll do, we'll go for a couple of quick fire ones, just to finish off. Like, so, who would you say was your best manager that you've played under?
You know, that's a tough question. That, you know, I've played under some great man. I could name, even when I was under 11, I played under a bloke called Peter Callahan when I was under 11. After that, I played on a fella called Aidan Finnegan, my youth team manager, Paul Stevenson, Mark Scott, Mick Tate, Tom Wade. The fella who I'm working with at the minute, Nicky Gray, is a great bloke, great man.
Yeah.
It's a hard one to say. I've worked under so many good blokes, and after going into management myself, I wouldn't like to dig anyone out because I know how tough management is. But
yeah,
I couldn't possibly. I had me more success under Tom Wade, but I couldn't possibly pick anyone out individually because I've worked under some great, like, honest blokes.
Definitely. And who would you say was the best teammate that you played with?
Well,
and I think his battery's gone. But I think on this one, we're going to have a part 2 because, like you say, we've got so much stories to talk to Stephen about. There's so much that we haven't touched on about his Morpeth management as well. So what we'll do in a few weeks' time, we'll get Stephen back on and have a kind of a part 2. He's actually out at the moment, so he didn't have much battery left before we started as well. So we'll get him back on again and we'll kind of go through a few more questions that we've got for him. But in the meantime, like I say, we've got so many former players from the North East scene coming on. And we're going to try and make this as big as we can. And I know obviously the Premier League season ends a little bit early this time before the World Cup. So we're going to be doing a lot of non-league days. Myself, Stephen, I think Luke as well. We're going to try and get out as many non-league games, Northern League. Going to go and see like the likes of Morpeth, Newcastle Blue Star, South Shields. Going to try and mix it up. Get a lot of fans involved as well and really try and push this as much as we can to get out and showcase what great football and what great footballers that we've actually got in the North East. And like you say, I mean, we've got no show next Sunday, but the next few Sundays after that, we're fully booked up with some great guests coming onto the show. They talk about their time in playing football, and some players that's actually still playing football now. Some former managers coming on as well. So there's so many good stories that's going to be coming up. So just keep your eye out on our YouTube channel. If you're just watching first tonight, please hit that subscribe button. It really does mean a lot to ourselves. We put a lot of hard work into this. Obviously, we've got our Facebook group as well for the Newcastle fans. We've got loads of coming up, so we really appreciate your support. But thanks again for watching. I know it's been cut short. I know Stephen's out on the drink tonight, but we'll get him back on for part 2 with a full battery. But again, thank you everyone for watching. Please hit that subscribe, and we'll see you next show.